Season's greetings and Merry Kit-mas, everybody. My name is Ben and welcome back to the bench for a brand new season of our holiday build series. That's right, the 6th season of the 12 Sprues of Kit-mas. We are back in action for a 6th year and I'm excited to get started. So I thought today we'd take a look at the model kits. We've got 13 ready to go in the stash. We'll just go from there. So yeah, should be pretty fun. Now, if you're new to the series, though, I've done this the last couple of years and it is hectic, it is busy, but basically we've got 13 model kits, 12 of which will be chosen and put in a random order out of a drawing box. Then every single time I come out to build something, I punch a hole through, I draw it out, and I build it. It can be anything from planes to tanks to sci-fi builds. And this year we've got all of those. So it's going to be pretty fun. I'm excited to get started on it. So let's go ahead and we're just going to check out the model kits today. Nothing fancy. I'm going to show you guys 13 model kits. I'm not going to be setting the order. That's going to be done by my lovely girlfriend. She's going to go ahead and set that for us. And in fact, she actually picked out a good deal. So let's go ahead and check out the models and we'll get started. So first up on the bench, we've got this one right here, and this is no particular order, 1/72 scale N1K2. This is by Hasegawa, and I've built a few of these over the years. If you've watched the 12 Sprues before, you'll see a couple of these 1/72 scales from Hasegawa. They're generally not bad kits. They just have sometimes a few little issues here and there. And the big thing is usually very little detail in the cockpit area. And already I can tell there's not a lot here. So what that usually means is if you're new to the channel, we might turn it into an ornament for my tree. We've got a lot of those and we're getting a bigger tree this year, so might need a little bit more. But let's take a look at our basic instructions, just kind of go over it real quick and see what we've got in store for us. Opening it up, it looks like we've got 2 color schemes, so that's pretty standard for these Hasegawa 1/72. Open it on up there, very typical layout, hardly any parts. A very simple build, so this should go super fast. And that's awesome. And you can see here, we already have closed landing gear bays. So yeah, it should be an ornament, no problem. 2 different schemes, both very similar. I typically like the first scheme, but we'll see when we get there. You know, honestly, this is just for fun. This is not going to be show worthy or any sort of crazy builds. It's just going to be furious building, fast as we can possibly do it. And then we can move on to the next day. So yeah, it should be pretty fun. The next kit we have up here on the bench is again, another 1/72 scale by Hasegawa. This is the J2M3. And I actually love the Jack. It's a really cool looking interceptor, and this should be a fairly simple model if it gets chosen. As you know, I've got no control of the order. Again, it's going to suffer from that lack of detail in the cockpit, but if I'm shooting for an ornament, that's going to be perfect. I can actually save a little bit of time by not fooling around with the cockpit. Looking at the parts though, recessed panel lines again, so that is great. I really like those. I hate dealing with raised panel lines. Opening it up again, a very simple, easy build. Closed landing gear bay covers, so that's awesome. It'll make a very easy ornament. And otherwise, yeah, we've got our paint callouts and then 2 different color schemes. I actually really like this one with the yellow lightning bolts coming down from the cockpit. That one might be the way to go. That would look pretty sharp on the tree. But we'll see when we get there, guys. Again, I have no control over the order, so that's going to be entirely dependent on my girlfriend. But if it makes it in, I think this is going to be a really cool ornament to hang on my tree. Moving right along here, we've got this right here. This is actually a 1/72 scale Merkava Mark III by Academy. And this is one of those tanks that I've always really wanted to build a model of, but I've never really wanted to go full bore into it and get one of the giant 1/35 scales. So in this case, we get a little bit of a taste of the Merkava build without having to break the bank, and looks like we've got different sections of track, so that's going to be interesting. A little bit of decaling here, not too much to be honest, a lot of parts. So we're going to have to get into this and hopefully this builds up well. Again, this is actually one of the few tanks we've got here in this stash for 12 Sprues. Who knows, I built a couple last year, which were actually very fun. So hopefully this is actually a lot more fun too. And it doesn't have rubber band tracks, so I'm happy about that. Basic instruction layout, we've got our road wheels, we've got our link by link tracks, we've got our different parts and pieces for the hull, for the turret. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I don't see anything that jumps out at me as being overly complicated. We will have to go ahead and put on all the different little parts and tools. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this goes together. We'll just have to jump in and find out. For our schemes, we've got 4 different versions we can paint, pretty much just different paint schemes, and that's absolutely fine. 1/72 scale Merkava Mark III by Academy. Pretty cool looking tank. So yeah, if it makes it in, we're going to have fun with that one. Moving right along here, guys, we've got the Sea Harrier FRS Mark I by Hasegawa 1/72 scale. And this is one of those model kits that again should be very easy to build. I actually like the Harrier. I don't know much about it, unfortunately, but I really love the design and I love the look of it. And especially these early Harriers with that different, very angular front nose, really enjoy the overall design of this particular early Mark Harrier. You can check it out. It's a little different than what I have built in the past. I did build a Harrier, but it was a later Mark Harrier, and I much prefer the design and the shape of this particular version. Jumping into the kit here, we've got a lot of parts, so that's awesome. We've got a whole set of decals, and it looks like we have multiple schemes, so that should be pretty cool. And then we'll just get out the instruction manual, and again, very similar to the other Hasegawas we've got so far. We've got a couple of different schemes, and we've got our part breakdown. So it looks like 4 different schemes. So that's kind of cool. We've got options, which is nice. One of kind of a mixture of color. We've got one overall extra dark sea gray over white, and another extra dark sea gray over white. So I think I'm probably going to lean towards the two-tone camo. I like the look of that. It kind of pops out at you, so that's probably what we're going to go ahead and work with. Getting into it here, we've got our weapon stores, and that's kind of cool to see what would be positioned on which hardpoint. And then we go through the rest of the build. So yeah, nothing too fancy. It looks like a pretty good little model. So this is a kit you've actually seen here on the bench if you followed the last couple of years of 12 sprues. This is the 1/72nd scale Airfix Curtis Tomahawk Mark IIB, basically a P40C. But the thing is, I've already built this exact model kit. I think it was like the 3rd or 4th year of 12 sprues. I have it in my display case, still prominently displayed. So in this case, if this gets pulled, since we only have one option for paint, we're going to go ahead and make this immediately into an ornament. I think this would look really cool there on my tree. This should be a blast. It should be very quick. It's very simple because again, 100% for the ornament, just to go ahead and get this thing up on the tree. But either way, this is an awesome model. I had a lot of fun with it when I built it the first time, so the second time should be just as fun, and it'll be faster because not only will I know what's coming up, any sort of pitfalls, I'll also go ahead and go right for the ornament. If I go the ornament route, I just blank off the cockpit, skip it, save some time, and move on. Should be a fun build if it comes into play. Now moving on here, guys, we have our very first sci-fi possibility here in 12 sprues, and this is the vehicle set series you've already seen. This is actually the combo set of the TIE Advanced and the regular TIE Fighter, and I gotta say these are awesome to build. However, we only have the TIE Advanced. The TIE Fighter, not in the kit. The reason for that though is I actually used the TIE Fighter for another diorama I did quite some time ago, and this is the leftover parts. So we just have the TIE Advanced, which honestly should be just fine because yeah, we've got a stand, we've got the part layouts, we've got all of the pieces ready to go for the TIE Advanced, and this is going to be a really fun little model. These vehicle sets build up so nicely. Part fit is super tight, they drop right into place. It does come with stickers unfortunately for any of the details, but I'm not too worried about that. This is still an awesome model kit and it will be a great little breather in a very hectic schedule for sure. So 1/144 scale TIE Advanced by Bandai in the vehicle set series. Super fun. Now getting into something a little bit more complicated, we've got this 1/72nd scale MiG-15bis by Eduard. This is the weekend edition kit though, so it's not going to be as crazy if it was like the Profa Pack where it had all the photo etch. This is going to be a pretty basic build. As you can see on the side though, we've got 4 different schemes, very colorful, very fun schemes, and this is an Eduard kit, so we know it's going to build up well. There might be a few little issues here and there, and it is tiny. The MiG-15 is not a big jet anyway. This is 1/72nd scale, so it's even smaller than I would like. But otherwise though, I think this should go together decently well. I've heard some great things about the particular model, so we're going to give it a shot. If it makes it in the rotation, we'll actually make it for the display case. I honestly absolutely love how they put these together. We've got our decals, of course, we've got a couple of different options. That's cool. And the instruction booklet, as you can see, it's full color, glossy, a lot of awesome looking detail. And just to give you an idea here, let's open it up. Got a little bit of info about the aircraft itself. Then we go into the parts and pieces. This is, like I said, the weekend edition kit. So we've got decals for the seat belts. We don't have any photo etch. We just have decals for the side consoles. And I'm actually okay with that. This is going to be small. 1/72 are not really that well known for heavy amounts of detail, so I'm just going to go ahead and use the decals, slap them on, and glue everything together, and just leave the canopy open just to kind of show off whatever I can see in there. Otherwise, everything drops into place. It looks like decently well. Got our different wings, we got our fuselage, our cockpit. And of course, one of the coolest things here, Eduard gives you multiple different schemes that you can use here on the model. For example, we have one right here from the Korean War. We've got some from the Czechoslovakian Air Force, which I actually really like. And it goes through the different paint schemes. It goes through a little bit of information regarding the aircraft or the pilot or something about that particular unit, which is really, really helpful. We've got another Russian scheme here, which looks to be an air demonstration team. Kind of cool with the blue and the silver. I like that. And then we've got an Egyptian MiG-15 as well. Very cool script on the side of it. Some neat insignia as well. So you never know. I have a lot of options here. I like the look of this one, but I really like the Czechoslovakian markings as well. I might lean to that one. But again, we don't know if this is going to make it in, so we'll just have to wait and see. We are given, of course, a full spread of all the different stencils that we can have on these particular MiGs. We have them broken out by different markings because they do differ by country. I'm not exactly so sure about 1/72nd scale stencils. I don't know about that, but if we get there, we'll go ahead and make a decision. Maybe we'll leave a few off. We'll have to wait and see. And of course, a couple of ads here for the photo etch version. Awesome looking model kit. I hope that this actually fits together well. We've got some great schemes. So yeah, this is actually really cool. If it doesn't make it into 12 sprues, it'll make a great build series for sure. 1/72nd scale MiG-15bis by Eduard. And moving right along here, guys, we have another tank, and this is actually a very special model kit that was sent to me by a good buddy, Robert. He actually sent me a bunch of model kits for last season, and this is one of the extras where I decided to roll it into this year because it actually looks kind of cool. I wouldn't mind going ahead and building it. So I don't know much about this. I know it's a British tank, and it's a close support British tank. I don't know much about British tanks, but on the back here we can see it's a desert camo, so that's kind of cool. Got our paint callouts right here. I don't really know what model manufacturer this is, so yeah, we're just gonna have to see if it comes into the rotation, how it builds up. So I don't know. Just looking at the parts though, they've got some great looking details, a lot of rivets, a lot of fine raised panel lines. We've got a solid piece of all the different idler wheels and dry sprockets with track, so that's a little unusual. Never built something quite like that before. Going into the instructions, this is actually something a little different. Not only are we given a single page of all the assembly instructions, and hopefully the parts go together well. If you flip it over, you've got a little bit of an informational booklet on this particular vehicle, which is awesome. If we go ahead and flip it open, we can start looking at a bit of history regarding this particular vehicle. It goes through quite a lot of detail, to be honest. So I need to kind of take this into the house and read a little bit about it and figure out what I'm going to be building if indeed this doesn't get into the rotation. But again, I love the fact that we've got information along with the model. That is super cool. Normally I would have to go out and buy a book or check out some ebooks. So yeah, this already comes with it. So that's that one, a 1/72nd scale A10 Mark 1A close support British tank. This looks like a great little model. Plus it comes with an informational booklet, which I absolutely love. Yeah, we'll have to see if it makes it into the rotation. Either way, we should be good. Big thank you to Robert again for these awesome models. Next up here, we've got another sci-fi build, and this is actually something my girlfriend picked out especially for 12 sprues. This is a 1/144 scale X-Wing, and you know I love Star Wars, and I love the vehicle sets by Bandai, and this is going to be probably a very easy, quick build. As you can see, it's got a full poly bag with stickers. Again, these do come with stickers, not with decals. Comes with its stand, comes with all the instructions on the undersurface of the lid, plus it's got some stenciling and sticker instructions on the side of the box. There's not much really to say about it. It's Bandai, so you know it's going to build up well. It's a vehicle set series, so it's going to be small enough to put on a display shelf or tuck it into a windowsill or something. It's going to be a great model kit no matter what. I'm going to build it one of these days for sure. Moving right along here, guys, we've got another Airfix kit for you. This is a 1/72nd scale Supermarine Spitfire Mark 22. This is one of those aircraft that's got that big old powerful Griffin engine, and I love a good Spitfire. And I think the Airfix Spitfires are pretty decent. So let's go ahead and just kind of check it out real quick and see what we've got in store for us. Again, the late Mark Spitfires are super awesome, especially with the Griffin engine. They just look so massive and powerful. This is going to be a great little model. And if I did pull it, again, I've got options for tree ornament or on the display shelf, so you never know. Of course, we've got our decal set, and I like Airfix decals. I've never had trouble with them. They've always done really well with Microsol and Microset. Looks like a couple of schemes, so I'll have to take a look at that. But going into the instructions, let's just take a quick look at them. So you can see a very typical Airfix, right? We open it up, we've got a fold out page, we've got everything starting off in the cockpit, all the way over to the landing gears, and then eventually into the canopy, and we're good to go. I don't know what I'll do yet if I go ahead and fold the landing gears or not, but we'll go ahead and check that out if and when we get to this particular model. And for this kit, we are given two different color schemes. Looks like we've got one here that is a camo version, and that's very typically the Aria kind of olive drab with that ocean gray, and then a medium gray as well. So that looks pretty cool. No complaints there. However, I've got a couple Spitfires already in camouflage, so I'm kind of leaning towards this particular one here, which is actually silver. Though it's not natural metal, it's actually a silver paint, I believe. But yeah, could you imagine a nice shiny silver Spitfire with those rondels, the red stripes, and red propeller hub? That could be super eye-catching. So yeah, that might be the one we go with if indeed this makes it into the rotation. If not, we got an awesome model kit we can build at some time. 1/72nd scale Supermarine Spitfire should be great fun. Jumping into another Airfix kit here, guys. This is a 1/72nd scale Messerschmitt BF110E. This is the tropical version. And the one drawback I see with this kit right from the get-go is that huge canopy that goes across the top of the aircraft. Can you imagine masking that in 1/72nd scale? Oh boy, that's going to be tough. If indeed it makes it in, we'll have to go ahead and deal with it the best we can. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of the plastic, because this kit actually stands out as a little different from the other typical Airfix that I have built recently over the last couple of years. Not only is the plastic a little different color, the panel lines are far deeper, much more recessed than some of the other aircraft. Details, of course, very shallow, very light. So this could be an earlier mold, possibly. I don't really know the history of it, but I can tell this is a little different. Plastic is also a little bit on the grainy side. I still think it'll build up well, at least that's my hope, but yeah, there's a couple of little things that tell me this might be an earlier molding. Don't know for sure, but yeah, might be a little bit different. Again, yeah, no detail on the inside of the cockpit, hardly anything going on in there, so this might be a great example of something you just throw on the tree, but it's also very big too. So I don't know, parts look good though, despite the fact that the plastic is a little grainy. They do have a nice shape and they look to be pretty decent, so we'll have to see how it builds up, you never know. And of course, one of the issues I do have with this kit just right out of the gate, the canopy. This thing is massive. There are so many frames going to have to be masked off, and it's so prominent. It's just going to take a long time. Very tedious here for sure. We'll go ahead and open it up for you here and you can take a look at the part itself. I noticed the clear part looks a little bit on the thick side. You can zoom in here and you can see we do have some very nice prominent framework though, so that might make it a tad bit easier to mask, but otherwise it's a little bit on the bigger side, so we'll have to see how that goes. Even the instructions are a little bit different than what we've seen typically here in the other Airfix models, but as you can see, we start off with our crew. We move through the different parts and pieces there in the cockpit, and again, not a lot of detail here, so we'll have to see how that fits together. I don't know how much you're going to see through that very thick canopy, but you probably won't see anything through it anyway. Regardless, moving on down through the rest of the aircraft, we've got our engines, we've got our wings, we've got our fuselage. So yeah, nothing too crazy. Should be a pretty simple build. And moving on to our color scheme, we've got two different color schemes we can use. We've got the desert camo version up here, which is also the one from the box top. And this is actually what I'm kind of leaning towards most. I like the color combo, and I haven't really built that many tropical or desert schemes here for my aircraft. So I might go with this one. Plus with the white, it really makes it pop, so I like that. The second version is a very typical splinter camo, and that is honestly very simple to mask. If I was going to go ahead and do this particular version, it wouldn't take very long to go ahead and get those nice straight slashes in the camo. Be a little bit harder getting the kind of mottled effect on the side, but otherwise should be pretty nice. But I think I'd probably go with the desert camo scheme only because it's so unique and I don't really have a lot of these particular desert type paint jobs. Plus it's got some interesting little details like this, what looks like a drop tank here. I don't know what that is, but it's hanging down, maybe it's radar or some sort. And then of course it's got the longer tail, which is interesting, very different from the other versions. So we might have to go ahead and pull out our BF110 book, read a bit more about it. And then of course, last page, all of our stencils. And again, I'm not too certain about stencils in 1/72nd scale, but we do have a nice layout if we so choose to use them. So yeah, aside from the huge canopy that's going to require a ton of masking, this is a really nice looking model, not really strong on detail, but then again, it may not matter. Still looks like a cool aircraft, 1/72nd scale, BF110E, tropical. Now let's fast forward to the Cold War here, guys. This is a Douglas F4D1 Skyray by Tamiya 1/72nd scale, and you might have seen me build the 1/48 scale version of this exact model. I've gone through it and looked at it, and it honestly looks super similar to the 1/48 scale. In fact, it's got the same markings, it's got the same part layouts. I loved building the 1/48 scale, so hopefully the 1/72nd scale is going to be just as fun. Just looking at the parts and pieces, beautiful lines. Of course, it's Tamiya, so you would expect nothing less than perfection, and this is a great looking model, great looking airplane, and I for one can't wait to build this. Like I mentioned, this does come with basically the exact same markings as the 1/48 scale kit. In fact, you might recognize the VE tailcode that I used when I built my 1/48 scale with Joe. That is a great looking scheme, but we also have a Marine version, which is what Joe built, and we have our Navy with the PA tailcode. Looking quickly at the instructions, it is a very typical Tamiya model, so it's going to have some decent instructions, and to be honest, this is almost exactly the same as what we had in our 1/48 scale. Pretty much same part layout, a little bit of difference here or there, but for the most part, yeah, it looks pretty much similar. And lastly, moving on to the different color schemes, and as you'll notice, we have 3 different versions like I mentioned, exactly the same out of the 1/48 scale kit. I'm more than likely going to go ahead and lean towards the one that Joe did, but we'll have to see when we get there. Again, it's a great looking model and it should be an awesome looking color scheme. Plus it's 1/72nd scale, right? So it's not going to be huge, it's not going to take up more room, and I can keep it at work and no one will complain because it won't take up much shelf space. So it's a win-win for sure. And last but not least, guys, number 13 is our Millennium Falcon. Again, another sci-fi kit and another vehicle set by Bandai. Their vehicle sets are awesome. So if you've never built one, go out there, grab one and build it. As you can see though, we have our sticker set right there. We've got all of our parts and pieces. And just for fun, let me open this up for you and show you guys the amount of detail that you can get out of these kits. It's absolutely phenomenal. I don't know how Bandai does it. I really don't. Let's go ahead and pull up the main hull of the ship and we'll zoom in here for you. And check this out. You can see all of the details, the vents, the wiring, all the structural supports. We've got cutouts with our awesome looking back detail of different pipes and wires. It is absolutely phenomenal. I love it. Now again, like I mentioned, we are given a sheet of stickers, so there's no decals with this, so that's not great. But again, I think this is way better than having to paint all these individual squares on such a small model. With the stickers, I'll take them for sure. And last time I used them was on the Razor Crest, and they worked fine. So this is honestly a fantastic looking model, and I cannot wait to see how this thing builds up. Again, detail on Bandai kits is phenomenal. So moral of the story here, guys, check out Bandai, check out their vehicle sets. These are awesome models and they build up so nicely. But that is it, guys. Those are our 13 model kits. Now 12 of those are going to be chosen by my girlfriend and put into a random order inside a drawing box. Then we're going to go day by day and we're going to see what we get. Keep in mind, this is 12 sprues, guys. This is not meant as some sort of super detailed selection of scratch built models and parts and pieces. This is build anything on the bench as fast as you can, as efficiently as possible. Just cut in as many corners that you can go ahead and get these out. We're talking 12 model kits in a month, guys, and that is a big ask for any modeler. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump in. We're going to try it out. I hope you guys come back here for build day number 1. And until then, you know the drill. Go out there, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool. Hope everyone is starting out with a great holiday season, and we'll see you back here on the next episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon.